Okay, I'm back. And this is part 3 of the Chapter 2 videos having to do with calculations in Excel. I wanted to go over this. And I made a mistake. I was stuck in that particular cell before I click this. So, PEMDAS, PEMDAS, something you learned earlier in your math, maybe even in grade school or something like that. Order of operations, parentheses first, exponential, multiply and divide from left to right. Multiply and divide are the same precedence, but the way you know which one to do first is going from the left side of the formula to the right. Addition and subtraction are at the same precedence also, but you go from left to right. Exponential, I want to show this because this is what we saw earlier when we tried to do the exponential and we saw the order of operations in action, that it does these three first, finds an answer, and then finishes up. So we're expecting 10 to the fourth divided by 10 to the fourth is 1, but instead we get 10 to the 8th. And I mentioned the way to correct that was to use the E. There's another way to fix it. And this will be important when you start creating formulas, to make sure that in the denominator of a fraction, when you want things multiplied together in the denominator of the fraction, be sure to use parentheses. And of course, you should know this from your calculator anyway. Okay, so there's that. And this time we do get 1 when we use the parentheses. Concatenate, that's a string operation. There's lots of string operations, by the way. It means to join the strings together. And let's say you have the string A and B. A string is just a sequence of letters. I'll type C in there. So now ACB. And the and sign, the ampersand sign, just joins the strings together. You could put a blank between the A and the B. There we go. Or, excuse me, between the B and what came before, which is AC in this case. Comparison operators, right here. So, does 1 equal 1? Is 1 greater than 1? No, of course not. So that is false. The answer returned is false. Is 1 greater than 0? Of course it is. Oops. Is 1 less than 1? Wait a minute, something's wrong here. Oh, no. No wonder I have the wrong symbol. I meant to say less than. So is 1 less? No, it's not less than 1. But is 1 less than 2? Yes, it is. Greater than. Now, if you can use these in an if statement, we'll see that later. But you can also return trues and falses, like this. So, is 1 greater than or equal to 1? That is true. Oops. Yeah, good. Is 1 greater than or equal to 0? And it's not greater than, and it's not equal to. And why did it give me a falsehood this time? Oh, of course it's greater than or equal to 0, but it's not greater than or equal to 2. Is 1 less than or equal to 1? That is true, but it's not 1, but it's not less than or equal to 0. Is 1 equal 1? That is true, but it's not equal to 0. Is it not equal to 1? That's false, but it's not equal to 0 either. Okay. Negation, not. So 0 represents false. So this formula becomes, there, clicking into it. And by the way, I'll click through all of these just to show you what they look like. There we go. That way you can see their usage. This seems strange. Equals D10 equals E10. This equal sign is a comparison operator. It asks the question, does D10 equal E10? The first equal sign is an assignment operator. It assigns the cell to the value of this expression when you compare D10 to E10. Okay, and we just saw the not equal to in just a second ago. Negation. It uses a function, not parentheses, whatever's inside. It'll negate whatever's inside and then close parentheses. And all the arguments must be true for and to evaluate to being true. If any one of them is false, false. False. And of course, if they're both false, false. Now, or is true if any of these is true. And again, it's a function. It's an Excel function. Just like pi is implemented as a function, not a constant. You just give it no arguments. Pi is 0 arguments. There's nothing in here for pi. This time there is something in here. There's 2 arguments, this argument and this argument. So if either one is true, then it evaluates to true. But if they're both false, it evaluates to false. You'll notice the number 1 represents true, the number 0 represents false. Okay, let's go back to the top of this spreadsheet for a second. I want to get into errors. So the first error to talk about is the circular reference. I have 2 constants sitting here and then 2 formulas. Now, what if I made this E2? So now E2 depends on, it depends on these 2 constants. But now E3 depends on let's see, E2. So this ought to be fine. 10. Now let's go make this equal to, instead of D3, let's change this to E3. Now, we change this one to refer to this cell. Now we're changing this cell to refer to this cell. We will create what's called a circular reference. If you get, here's the error that comes up when you get a circular reference. You'll get these blue arrows that tell you this is the path of the circular reference. You can do a Control Z to go back to what you had before and fix it. So an error does pop up. Okay, let's do one more thing. Other errors. Division by 0. Errors look like this. They'll have a number in front of them and then divide by 0, and then it'll tell you the nature of the error. Okay. Equals A times 2. It's going to try, and it's error. It doesn't like the name. It doesn't like the A. Invalid name error. There we go. Unrecognized text. And so forth. So when you see this kind of thing, you know something went wrong. And that's a good time to stop this video. So we'll stop here and we'll pick up the rest of the chapter after this.